The Lord has calmed the temperature because the Lord realizes that the volcano is rising to the surface. Everything that is unfolding in Dominica over the last 24, 48, 72 hours tells us that the volcano is on its way to erupting, and we have to be prepared. Today also, as we walk, I need us to think and pray for those Dominican families who are still in harm's way if we have a storm. I think of Blue and the people in Paradise. I think of the people in Solihull and Colibistri. I think of people all over the island in Fish Lane who are still at risk. And we hear a lot of talk on the radio. Oh, they have put things in place. They are ready. Disaster preparedness is in place, etc. But those people have not been taken care of. So let us, as we walk today, let us keep the safety of those people in mind. In particular, let us remember the elderly and the handicapped who would not be able to move quickly out of harm. Let us also remember the children who, in addition to having to deal with pedophiles and child abusers, have to deal with storms and hurricanes. So let us keep all those vulnerable, those victims in mind and in heart. And let us, as our Father says, let us forgive those who trespass against us, but let us never forget who trespasses against us. You hear me?
Yes.
They are not to be forgotten. We can forgive. We can say, I accept your apology, but I will never forget that you were one of those who facilitated false voting in the last 3 or 4 elections. You arranged for people to transport themselves to come down here when you knew that the laws of Dominica prevented those people from exercising the franchise, from voting. You knew that. Some of you provided money for transportation. Some of you had aircraft. And you allow your aircraft to use from U.S. Virgin Islands up and down, up and down, up and down, carrying illegal voters.
You understand?
Mashing up our democracy that we are still trying to build. Some of you made the payments to big aircraft in New York using your job at the mission of Dominica to the United Nations. And the payments you got for that, you come down here and they make you a permanent secretary, Barbara!
Yes!
They make you a permanent secretary. And you are still there feeding on the Dominican people who you have robbed. You have robbed of their democratic freedom. And you are there sitting down in the government headquarters as a permanent secretary. You too are going to have to pay. Pay attention to what is happening to your colleague, Lorraine.
Vampires.
Pay attention. That is just the beginning of karma.
Yes.
And karma knows only one thing, what is right and what is wrong. Karma don't know anything about color. It don't know anything about name and disposition and party association. It knows only, did you do the right thing or did you do the wrong thing and hurt innocent people? So watch out.
Yes, man.
Those of you who think you get away, some of you are permanent secretaries. Some of you used to be permanent secretaries and you escaped by retiring. You didn't escape. You did not escape. Because guess what? The prison that you are in is in your heart. It's inside of you. You are never going to escape that prison. You might escape, the prison on the hill. But that prison inside of your heart and soul will keep you so terrorized that one of these days you will welcome insanity as an escape from your sentence in jail. So my brothers and sisters, Today in Dominica is not a nice day. The weather is there and it reflects the situation, which is why we're working. I hope you listened to and understood the warnings that came from Dr. Thompson Fontaine. You notice that none of that was discussed in the budget. None of that was represented in the budget. But suddenly, after the budget, you hear First Caribbean going about its business. Why would a bank go away if it was doing well? If it was making money? If people were depositing their savings? If people were taking loans? If business was rolling, would a bank move? Why did Scotia move? If business was rolling, would Scotia have left? No! So they were warning us. And they are people who take advice. They are people who look at the numbers and they say, they're not looking good. So let's get ready to roll. And they roll. Thompson Fontaine has warned us. He has warned us. And I listened to a radio program last night, a little piece, on another radio station. And they were trying to laugh and giggle. But you know when somebody's really nervous and frightened, they start giggling, they start twombling. Well, that is what was happening. Because they know that when our national bank was declared as unable to afford to buy First Caribbean, and that decision was taken by the regulator agency, the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, that said to the National Bank, I'm sorry, you can afford that. Your numbers are not looking good. You're overextended. You don't have that money, so don't even try that. Do not even think about it. That is our national bank that was warned away from purchasing. So think, I know I became a member of the credit union, because at that time the Rosa Credit Union, when I was 11 years old. That same year I made my confirmation. My mother gave me a little pink book which had my name on it, and they gave me $1. And they said, let's go. And they took me to Rosa Credit Union to make my first deposit in my credit union book. 11 years old. Most of you are members of your credit union. Most of you have been assisted a lot by your credit union membership. I want to sound the warning. Credit unions need a place to put the money that we put in there. Where do they put their money? In other words, who is the banker of the credit union movement? Do you know? Where do they put the money to earn some interest to pay you if you put a fixed deposit in the credit union? Where do they put that money? All the money of all the credit unions is saved in the National Bank. Pay attention, people. There are people who say we are prophets of doom and gloom. No, we are just prophets. We see things because we study things. If it is true that the ECC said to the bank that they are not in good financial health, which is what Dr. Thompson Fontaine is warning about, if that bank, our national bank, which is the biggest bank in Dominica, where all government monies go into that bank, if that bank, which government uses authority to extend up two facilities up to a loan of 250 million, when the law only allows them to extend a loan facility to the state of up to 60 million. So they have exceeded the limit by 4 times. By 4 times. That is what helped place the National Bank in a difficult situation. Credit unions, when we go to the annual general meetings, let us ask our board and our directors to give us a report on the status of our relationship as credit union cooperators with the National Bank of Dominica. And finally, back to today. Prosperity is one of the three things we work for. And I have chosen to focus your attention this morning on what is undermining our prosperity as a people. But mark you, while the masses of the people are not prospering, there are people who are prospering. So the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. The rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. And those we know is coming from us, from our resources, and they don't care. So they do not care about us. So that is why we march and walk and talk for justice. Because unless we can rebalance and get the courts, the police, the lawyers, the churches, the trade unions, the youth organization, all these organizations, you say, but wait now, that is not right what these people are doing. So how come I'm silent? Why are the churches silent about such abuses? Why?